Shalom Aleichem, wir sind Chaim und Lezer from the web series YidLife Crisis.
Hi, we're Jamie and Ali from the web series YidLife Crisis, and we are here in Kensington Market, a major cultural hodgepodge in Toronto, which is the largest city in our homeland of Canada, because it's a place of great Jewish significance. It's a place where many Jewish immigrants arrived to Canada many, many years ago.
Now that's literally all we know about this area. So what we're going to try and do now is find a tour guide that would understand the multi-generational aspect of the market, how it's evolved over the century, how it became a cultural hub for many immigrant communities.
Well, the idea would be basically to have a mother-daughter duo explain it.
Yeah, how are we going to do that?
Well, we can do that.
Are you mother-daughter combo tour guide?
We're a mother-daughter combo tour guide.
All right, how's it going, Jamie? Hannah and Joyce Wayne, native Torontonians and lovely Jewesses. Tell us where we are and what this neighborhood is about and when it started and what your family relationship to it is.
We're at the corner of Augusta and Baldwin, really the heart of Kensington Market, the heart of the Jewish market, because in the 1920s, Jews either came here from Europe or they were living in the ward, which is east of here, and it was a place of grinding poverty. It was a horrible slum. So moving into Kensington was actually a step up. They had their shops downstairs. They lived above the shops.
Where those windows are would be where they live.
They got off the boat in Halifax or Quebec, and they didn't speak a word of English. So they came here and they lived their life in Yiddish mainly. Not the street signs, of course, because this was very WASP Toronto, always has been, but the signs on the stores themselves were in Yiddish. My grandmother ran the shop behind us. It was a chicken store, and she ran it in the 20s and 30s. My poor grandmother, Annie Marcus, ran it on her own and supported her kids by running it. 5 o'clock in the morning, in the backyard was the chicken coop and the chicken yard. She would chop off their heads and put them in the window.
And pluck them, right?
And
she did everything.
She did all the work.
A real balabusta.
A balabusta.
Where did the heads go?
They were not religious people. They came from from a country, you know, Poland and Russia, that was turning into a communist country, and they brought that with them. But they spoke in Yiddish, and they kept all the Yiddish cultural traditions.
Was this a kosher meat shop?
No, it wasn't a kosher meat shop.
So the way they did the chopping, they just chopped any which way they wanted?
No rabbi, no shoichet, they just chopped.
Much like your moil.
I came in the late 60s, early 70s, when I was a university student, and the vibe is much the same. It was a place where you could just be yourself, drink a beer, smoke a little dope.
Hello.
Eat some good Jewish food.
This is like heaven.
In the late 60s, it almost got torn down. And if it hadn't have been for Mayor David Crombie, this would have been plowed through and it would have become the projects. He and Jane Jacobs said, don't do it. This is such a unique place.
Plus, they needed a place to smoke dope and drink.
Well, where else is there in Toronto to do that?
I don't know.
Nowhere. Here we are. We're coming on to the Minsk, which is right next to the Rasta Music. And here it is. This beautiful synagogue that really became a fixture of the market.
This is really interesting because this is using Hebrew letters to describe a language that's basically not Yiddish. One might call it Yinglish. It basically sounds somewhere in between Yiddish and English. Congregation, which is not Yiddish, Beis Yisrael Anshe Minsk, Gebildet Shnas Taratz. Gebildet is the past participle of build it, which basically means to build, and I'm just making that up. So it's interesting that not only were they using Yinglish, but they were immortalizing Yinglish in stone. That's the kind of loose use of the Yiddish language that we appreciate.
So for all those Yiddishists who complained when we were making up words, we're not the first ones to do it.
My mother got married here in this synagogue. Yes, she did.
You learned something new about your own family every day. You're welcome.
The market was the center of left-wing Jewish Toronto. During the 30s, during the Depression, when people were really having a hard time, the left-wing Jews would walk in front of the Minsk on Yom Kippur, and they would be eating pork sandwiches just to taunt the religious Jews.
Yeah, but was there cheese in it?
I heard there was. There were the people who really wanted to go up in society, who wanted to climb out of this neighborhood, get to the annex, get to Forest Hill. And then there were the left-wing Jews who wanted to make a communist state. They really did. We're gonna find some pork sandwiches.
We'll be back in a bit.
Rabbi, it's a pleasure. Is there literally marijuana smoke wafting into the shul right now?
You talk about the market and the different changes that has gone through the years. This is one of the new or newer smells of the market. Originally, a shul was not only a place of davening, but it was like it's called base knesses, place to come in. Right? People feel they can just come in. Someone who came after the war once said that for him, coming to Kensington Market after the war was very comforting because he had the sounds of Yiddish. You know, the sounds of Yiddish brought his silent life back, you know, gave him some...
Machaya.
Yeah.
Hello, Yiddish, my old friend. The sounds of Yiddish.
I thought you were the streets are alive with the sounds of Yiddish.
The streets are alive.
Feels like a community center more than just a place of religious practice.
Community center. In fact, from the social agencies in town, they'll sometimes send people here if they need some immediate type of help or care. We have regulars, irregulars, and guests.
Regulars, irregulars, and guests.
There's the Portuguese, there's Indian, we have the Rastafarians next door. And
do you ever commune with the Rastafarians, or
we do talk. You know, we definitely talk about ideas. The area is growing in terms of Jewish population. Downtown is growing, so it's an exciting time for the shul.
Well, as long as there's still Chinese food available for Jews in the market on Sunday nights.
I was at a wedding recently. I said, "Yeah, I remember you. You once needed a 10th man for a million, and you pulled me out."
Like really, out of a Chinese restaurant?
Order me a hot and sour soup. No pork, extra spicy. I'll be back right after Mariv.
Dim sum Shabbos.
Dim sum for everyone.
Yeah, dim sum, you lose some.
All right. A großen Dank. Sei gesund.
It used to be the United Bakery, which was really one of the first Jewish restaurants on Spadina. It was an all-dairy restaurant, so you couldn't eat any meat here.
Obviously, this is not the United Bakery anymore. Where'd it go?
It went up north.
Okay, so even though the Jews moved north, once they had sort of established a bit of left their mark on this, other communities came in here, other immigrants, and they brought their food, but we had left our imprint on the sort of template of all the culinary aspects of our community here. Why don't we go sink our teeth into all the other nations of the world right now in the market? Let's go.
Paying?
Lead the way.
Okay,
and we'll
this
talk
way.
about who's paying later.
Okay.
We don't have to decide that right now. 1, 2, 3, nach.